Everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on the Stalactite Bracelet, and this bracelet is using some of the beads from the Underground Cavern LITE collection. So the Underground Cavern LITE collection, if you're not familiar with it, it is a lighter version, more affordable, more focused of the original Underground Cavern collection that I collaborated on with Eureka Crystal Beads a couple of years ago. So much more focused, more affordable, less beads, but just really has the essence of the the original Underground Cavern collection. So here's the bracelet. I'll show it to you on my wrist. I have two iterations of the bracelet. So here's sort of the original, and then I added some seed beads around the edges. I did a little change here, but during the video, you'll have an opportunity to either, add the changes or not. And all these 11/0s are added at the end. So, you can get to this point, and if you decide you want to add them, you can. So I think it's really pretty either way. So I'm going to clear this off. We'll get a materials list going, and we'll get started on this bracelet. The supplies that you need. So you need some 8mm chatons. You need an 11/0 delica. It's hard to see it because it's whitish. So here, got your delicas. We've got a 3mm fire polish 11/0 seed bead. You have some 3x2mm rondelles. You have both in the collection, so you can choose. One bracelet I did with this one and one bracelet I did with the other, so you can decide which one you want to use. I need some 8mm pearls, some 15/0 seed beads. I've got a clasp here. The one in the collection is really beautiful. It's a hammered clasp, but I didn't have another one, so I just pulled one from my stash. We've got some 4mm jump rings. I've got a little cushion with different size needles. Make sure you have a size 12 beading needle handy. I used an 11 and a 12 on this, and I used 4-pound Fireline black satin. So 4-pound, it's not something we use a lot of, but I have been using it a lot lately. It really, really is a wonderful thread. You can go through the beads several times. It's nice and, it's nice and thin, but it's really strong. So I would always recommend that you keep this in your stash, because I'll be using this a lot. It just goes through the beads so easily. It's nice and smooth. Love it. All right, need a stop bead, which I always forget to put in. So let's just make this our stop bead. There we go. Okay, so there you go. That's everything. So again, check the description box below the video for sizes, shapes, colors, etc. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. That always helps me on YouTube. All right, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 2.5 feet of thread, put on the stop bead, and leave enough of a tail to sew in. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead a mini gem duo and 2 11/0s, and I did that 4 times. I'm going to sew these into a circle by sewing through the first bead after my stop bead. So just like that. And if you notice, I have my piece so that the flat side of my mini gem duos are facing me and the rounded side are away from me. And this is where we're going to put our chaton in. So we want the flat side facing up. So we're just going to reinforce this all the way around. So you're just going to sew through all the beads. And I'll just let you do that on your own and meet me back here and we'll continue. So I've reinforced all the way around, and I went past my stop bead by several beads just to make the, the round nice and secure. So I'm exiting the bottom hole of a mini. I'm going to sew through the top hole of that same mini gem duo. Just like that. Next up, I'm going to pick up an 11/0, a fire polish, and 11/0. And I'm trying to keep the little unit on my forefinger because my middle finger is a Band-Aid and I don't want you to be too distracted. So if I'm a little clumsy, because I'm used to putting it on this finger, but we're going to do it this way. So we're going to sew through the top hole of the next mini gem duo, 11/0, fire polish, 3mm fire polish, and 11/0. I'm going to sew through the top hole of the next mini gem duo. I'll move my thumb in a second. Just like that. So you're going to do that 2 more times. Okay, last 11/0 fire polish 11/0 through the top hole of the mini, and then you can continue going all the way around to reinforce that round as well. So reinforced all the way around, and I'm exiting the top hole of a mini gem duo, and I did sew my tail thread in just to get it out of the way. So I'm going to pop my stone in like that. I pick up 5 of my 15-0s. I'm exiting the top hole of this mini gem duo. I'm just going to hop over to the top hole of the next one, and I'm going to make sure that those 5 15-0s sit in front of that fire polish bead, just like that. Let's do that again. 5 15-0s, exiting the mini gem duo. I'm going to sew through the top hole of the next mini gem duo, just making sure that those 15-0s sit in front of the fire polish. And your stone might pop out, but that's okay. So just like that, you're going to do that 2 more times. Last 5 15-0s, exiting the top hole of this mini. I'm going to sew through the top hole of this one. Pop those forward. And then I'm just going to advance my needle through the next 5 15-0s. So just like that. I'm going to pick up a delica. I'm exiting this group of 5 15-0s. I'm going to sew through the next group of 5 15-0s. Just placing a delica right there. And then again. Okay, I'm going to do it 2 more times and then reinforce. I've reinforced all the way around, and I'm exiting the 5 15-0s. Actually, I went around a couple of times just to tighten it up. So I'm exiting this group of 5 15-0s. I'm just going to sew through this top hole of this mini gem duo, the next 11-0, fire polish 11-0. So just like that. Now we're going to add some rondelles. So on the original bracelet, we've got these rondelles here, which are the very neutral rondelles. They're almost like a grayish, beigeish sort of. It looks like a little stone, doesn't it? So I put those on, but we also have these rondelles. So why don't we try these for this bracelet, and you can check it out and see which one you like better. All right, so let's add the rondelles now. So I'm exiting the 11-0 right here after a fire polish. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, the rondelle, and I'm going to use the turquoise and an 11-0, and I'm going to sew through the next 11-0 fire polish 11-0. Just going to do that all the way around. 11-0 rondelle, 11-0 through the next 11-0 fire polish 11-0. Just make sure those are sitting nicely. I'm just going to do that 2 more times. Okay, my last 11-0 rondelle 11-0. Exiting here, I'm going to sew through the next 11-0 rondelle 11-0, and they want the 11-0 after that, right before that first rondelle. Make sure that sits into place. And this is what we have so far. Pick up an 11-0. I'm going to sew through the next rondelle. I'm going to pick up 11-0. I'm going to sew down through the next 2 11-0s. The fire polish and the next 2 11-0s. Just like that. So you're just going to keep doing that, adding the 11-0s before and after the rondelles. So we're done with our unit, and you have enough thread to attach the pearl and attach to the next unit, or you can sew the threads in and use another thread, whichever you like. Okay, let's connect 2 pieces, and I'm going to talk you through this on the mat at this point anyway, because for some reason my hands kept getting in the way and I felt like it wouldn't be clear. So you set up your pieces like so. So just 2 pieces next to each other. Your thread will be exiting this 11-0 here. So, when you've done your unit, I'd made it so you will exit here. If you have thread left over, you can continue. If not, just make sure, sew through these, put on a stop bead, come through these 3, and you'll be exiting right here. All you're going to do here is you're going to pick up a 3mm fire polish. You're going to sew through the 3 on this side, the fire polish, the 3 here. You're going to put on another fire polish, and you're coming back around until you are exiting the 3 right here. So just making a loop just like that. Okay, when I pull it together, this is what you have, and you'll be exiting these 3 11-0s here. I'm going to advance my needle through the next fire polish, through the next 3 11-0s. I actually like to go through the 2 first, right here, and then this 11-0 and just the next fire polish. Just like that. This is what we have so far. I pick up my pearl and let me put this on the mat. So I'm exiting the top of this fire polish. I'm just going to go through the fire polish on the other side. So you might have to just sort of maneuver your needle around to get it through just the fire polish. There we go. Like that. So now we have what looks like this. So your pearl through the top of this fire polish, around through this one, you know, or your thread was coming out of this fire polish, so you're just going to put on the pearl, come through the top of this fire polish. You're going to go back through the pearl. So we're just connecting, you know, both ends like that, and then back through the fire polish. And you just might have to, again, maneuver that fire polish so you can get your needle in there. Should be able to get it in. It's just that it's tight. You know, it's not that it's tight. It's just next to the bead, the 11-0. So it's going to, you know, it's going to be a little, you know, there'll be a little maneuvering to get it in there, but you should be able to get in there, no problem. And you see I have these 2 threads, you know, coming through the pearl and around, and then the thread on this side and this side. So that's going to secure the pearl, and you'll be exiting that fire polish bead. Next up, I'm going to add, so make sure you're nice and snug. And you want this pearl is actually going to be sitting up a bit. So like so. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s. I'm going to sew through this fire polish here. So we're just going to be surrounding the pearl. You got to get, you know, through these fire polish again. And then you're going to go through the fire polish. Here we go. Like so. And you're going to do that 2 more times so that you have all your 11-0s on. Adding my last 3 11-0s. So exiting one of the fire polish, sewing through the last fire polish. Like so. Now we've got all our 11-0s on. I'm going to advance. I'm exiting the fire polish. I'm going to advance through these 3 11-0s. Pick up 3 15-0s, and I'm going to sew through the next 3 11-0s. Now this is where I went off pattern a little bit. You don't have to put these 3 15-0s there, but I don't know. I just, you know, I'm always like playing with things to see how they look. So just like that, I'm just putting 3 15-0s in between each group of 3 11-0s. So lots of options here. You can, you know, choose whatever options, you know, whichever way you would like to do it. So my last 3 15-0s through the 3 11-0s. Then I'm just going to reinforce this, and I'm going to sew this thread in, and this is what it will look like with your pieces attached. So I have 1 more to go. So so you'll just attach all your units until you have, you know, the length you want before the clasp. And as I said, I did, so here's the original bracelet. Notice how it's it's changing. Let me measure it because I just want to make sure what we have here. So I have 6 inches of beading. So my bracelet's about 7 with the clasp. So let me see when I do this. Yeah, it's close to 7, like 6 3/4 to 7 inches. So you'll just have to adjust, you know, according to the, you know, which clasp you use. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through this part because it's just easier on the mat. So my thread was exiting here, this bead right here of this group here, so here. And you might have thread left over. If not, put a, you know, 1.5 feet of thread on your needle and, you know, with a stop bead tail to throw in, sew in, make sure you're coming through here. Could be you're coming through here. That's fine too. We're just looping around. So here, I'm I've added 2 11-0s. I'm exiting here. I've added 2 11-0s and a fire polish. I came through the ring on the toggle bar. And the toggle ring, you're going to do exactly the same thing. So I've come through, added a fire polish, 3mm fire polish, 2 11-0s. I came through these 3, and then I'm exiting this fire polish right in the middle. So see right there? So just like that. Here, I'll just put that there so you can see the thread path. And when I pull, this is what it looks like. Okay, just a note, at all times you want to make sure that ring is in between the fire polish. You don't want it on thread, you want it in between beads. So you just, just be mindful as you are beading. A lot of times I'll just do this, I'll hold it with my thumb. And once you sew everything in, it will be tight and it won't come out. So here I have my beads on my, all my beads on, and I'm exiting this fire polish. I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s, and I'm going to sew through the fire polish, the ring, and the fire polish, like so. And I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s again, and I'm going to sew back through this fire polish. Now, it'll probably be a little tight, and you might have to maneuver a little bit, but you'll get it through. I'm using my size 12 beading needle, so there we go. And then when I pull, and kind of straighten these guys out a little bit, this is what it looks like. And let me see if I can pop these 2 over. I want that over there. And then oh, there we go. Now I'm going to give it a pull. So you want to make sure that those beads sit just like this. So in order to do that, you might have to just maneuver it a little bit, just like I did. And then I'm just going to go around, and I'm going to sew some half hitch knots around the beads. If you can't, if you can't get through this bead again, then just sew your knots, through some knots in between these beads right here. And then you could actually just come around this way and sew through, put some knots here, just wherever you can fit them. And that is what the end of your clasp is going to look like. So you're going to do the same thing on this side, and then come back, and we'll do one more optional embellishment. Okay, let's add that embellishment. So we're using all 11-0s here. And so what I did here is I've threaded my needle with a couple of feet of thread, put on a stop bead, left a tail to sew in. I'm going to do this, I'm going to just come down this side. I think I'll end here, and then I'll add another thread to put this side on. I think it just comes out better that way when you're not looping around, this kind of length too much. So I've just come through one of the 11-0 right before a rondelle. So this is where my thread will be exiting. Let me show you that up close. Whoops. So right there. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s. I'm exiting right here. I'm going to sew through these 2 on the other side of the rondelle. Like so. And then through the 11-0 fire polish, 11-0. And you shouldn't have any trouble getting through these beads because we really haven't put any other threads through this side of each component. Like so. Then up through these 2. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s. I'm going to sew through this fire polish. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s. I'm going to sew through the 11-0 on the other side of the rondelle. I'm going to sew through the next 11-0 right here. Like so, and then through the 11-0 fire polish 11-0, and then through these 2 11-0s. like so. And we're just going to keep repeating that all the way down. Let's do it again. 3 11-ohs. Through the fire polish, 3 11-ohs, through the 11-oh on the side of the next rondelle, advancing through this 11-oh, and then the 11-oh fire polish 11-oh. And the reason I'm advancing through one bead and then 11-oh fire polish 11-oh is that these beads are at sort of different angles. So your threads are going to go through easier if you put your needle in the bead at the right angle. So those three beads were put together. Let me give that a little pull. Okay. Those 3 beads were put on together, so I'm going through them at the same time. So then up these 2. You got it. And see when I pulled that in a little bit because there was a little bit of space there. 3 11-ohs. Through the fire polish. Through the fire polish. 3 11-ohs. Through the 11-oh on the other side of the rondelle. Like so. Through the next 11-oh. Actually, can I get, well, I guess I can get through others. I still think it's easier to go through them as groups because, yeah, then it's going to be a little difficult getting through that one, but not too bad. So I guess wherever your needle is going is probably the best way to do it. And then up these 2 and so on. And you're just going to continue that all the way down until you have that done. And then you'll just add a thread and you'll do the other side. So when I put it on, this is what it looks like. All right, so if you want to do that, get that done and come back and we'll finish. Okay, so I've gotten all the embellishing done, and my last embellishment is your thread will be coming out of one of the seed beads here before rondelle. Here are my last 3. I just put those on and I went right through these 2 and all the clasp beads like that. And then I'll just sew it in around here somewhere. And that will just finish both sides. So here you go. Here's the turquoise one. Here is the one in with the sort of grayish, beigey color rondelles. So the difference is, of course, adding all those 11-ohs around, which I think it looks beautiful without it as well. And then on the original, I left all the fire polish showing around the pearl, and on this one I added 15-ohs in between those 11-ohs, and it sort of covered up some of the fire polish. You see them a little bit, but just little different ways of embellishing that you might want to consider. All right, so I want to thank you so much for joining me here. Let's take a look at them on black so you can see the contrast. I think that they came out really pretty, and I do like it just as well without all that, without all the seed beads around. So really lots of options here. All right, so I want to thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Take care.